This is where we left off right here when it broke through the wall. And we said at that time that we had two ways to go. Obviously, we always do. But we could have gone down and looked for support at the bottom of the cloud with the Chiku span. And notice that the bottom of the cloud is where? Right at the 50% fib of this big candle. Interesting coincidence. We didn't go down. We went up. And we pierced the cloud. And we're looking at a 1 minute breakout, not yet confirmed by the Chiku span. So what would have given us an indication that we would bounce at this point? Certainly not the 1 minute time frame. So let me just turn off the studies here to unclutter the chart. And let's move to the 5 minute time frame. Really don't see any reason for this bounce here. Let's look at the 15 minute. And here is the smoking gun. The bounce occurred here on the 15-minute chart that was signaled by where? By the Chiku span striking the 15-minute cloud. So even if you're a 1 minute trader, you have to keep an eye on different time frames. We'll be back. Okay, so it's been over an hour, and the last time we saw this chart was right back here. We've seen the 1 minute come up, touch the cloud, basically just keep moving up, saying that if you were long, you could stay in the long trade. We started to flatten out here. Now let's look at our other time frames and try to determine what might have happened. This particular bar right here occurred at 12:40 p.m. So let's look at other time frames. On the 5 minute, we see nothing particular except the cloud is showing strength. On the 15 minute, after having this support that we pointed out in the last time we talked, we have this upwards motion, but still no evidence of why we have a pullback. Go to the 30 minute, and here you have it. This rejection right at a point where the Chiku should have blown right through this thin portion of the cloud right here coincides with the candle. That's the candle right here at 12:30. It coincides with the reversal that we saw in the 1 minute. So the 1 minute reversal, which couldn't be explained by the 1 minute chart, is explained by this point right here on the 30-minute chart. So I'll come back to you in another hour. Okay, the last time we looked at this chart was at 1:20. It's now 2:31, and we can see on the 1 minute chart that we've come down to 200 EMA support. But if we look at the 5 minute chart, this is the one that we need to be more cognizant of. We see price coming down to get cloud support and possibly to come as low as or to coincide with the 50 EMA. So let's watch the 5 minute chart as our next major signal. Okay, now it's 3 o'clock and it's Friday afternoon, so anything can happen at 3 o'clock on a Friday afternoon. And we see the 1 minute is flagging. It's been on a pretty much lower highs situation since it peaked. And the 1 minute cloud has been telling us that this was the short-term forecast. So let's now move up to the 5 minute chart. The 5 minute chart is the opposite. Now the 5 minute chart is showing upwards movement, but because the 1 minute chart is showing downwards movement, we can expect price to come down and to at least try to test the cloud, which it did and failed, and now it's failed the 50 EMA. The next point where the 5 minute would show a test for support is where the Chiku span runs into this pink line, which is the Kijun Sen. Let's now move to the next time frame, which is 15 minutes. And on the 15-minute time frame, we don't see too much of interest. There's nothing in the Chiku, there's nothing in the candles that is going to tell us anything of interest. On the 30-minute, and remember we've only got two 30-minute periods left, what we see is, as we saw earlier in the day, where the 30-minute provided resistance for us here, it's been resistance all the way down. So this is where, you know, this 30-minute candle ended, right in here. But at some point, you know, it did come up. If you were watching, you'd see it come up to the cloud and then come back again, testing the cloud and being rejected. And right now, it's starting to poke in the clouds. It's in another one of those periods, and chances are that this 30-minute candle will finish with the cloud having been an obstruction or a rejection point for the Chiku span. We only have 1 hour left, but let's take a look at the 1 hour chart. And we see that, let's get rid of all the studies. We showed the 1 hour chart much earlier. The 1 hour is now acting as support, but it's in a very thin position, and there's a chance, although the best chance was right here where the cloud is the thinnest. Now the cloud is a little thicker, so support is a little bit more. We've only got 1 hour. In 1 hour, we could see a down move that would push us through this thin portion of the cloud. Going back now to the 1 minute chart. The 1 minute chart is still showing downwards. We would keep our eye on the 1 minute and 5 minute for the rest of the day. But down is the way that I would think we're going to finish the day. Now nearing 3:30, we still see a downward trend. We look at the 5 minute chart, and we were hoping or looking to see if we would get support of the Chiku span on the Tenkan-sen, the Kijun-sen here, and we didn't. But we did see it on the 50 EMA. It's tenuous. We could get that support, but if we look ahead, we see negative there. That might be just enough to encourage traders to keep the pressure on, and going back to the 1 minute chart, continue this downwards into the end of the day. And it's now 3:40, and this is where I'm going to leave the video off because I have to go pick up my daughter. But I said right here, where we last talked, that the cloud showed we were going to move down. We saw this, which was most likely short closing, shorts, closing their positions, and then the downward trend continued. And on the 5 minute chart, we saw playing around of the Chiku on the 50 EMA, but now it's steadily losing it. So that's in general how the Ichimoku clouds work in relation to price, how the Chiku span is important, and how it's important to look at different time frames regardless of what if you're day trading, it's important to look at all time frames. Let's just say that.